Porn in the industrial dopamine complex. When we talk about porn, it's important to understand what we're talking about both on and behind the screen. Fundamentally, porn is sexual social media. That means that the same algorithms that are generating your recommended content on Facebook or Instagram are also at work behind the scenes recommending new content and new videos to you on every porn site that you go to. And they have the same goal as these algorithms on social media sites, and that is to keep you on site for as long as possible and coming back as frequently as possible so that they can reap your attention for ad revenue. This means that porn is not neutral towards you. It is a highly manipulative and exploitative technology which literally capitalizes on the loneliness and the sexual dysfunction of its users, which is you. The porn industry has no regard for your mental health or well-being, and in fact is actively incentivized to harm you and your relationships. By exposing you to more and more extreme content over time and gradually changing and rewiring the bonding networks in your brain, making it harder to connect with real people, the porn industry is grooming you until your only sexual outlet is their services. OnlyFans? More like lonely fans. Now here's some disturbing stats for you. Porn addicts and heavy porn users actually show the same neurological changes in their brains as drug addicts. Hypofrontality. This is a decrease in the gray matter in our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain responsible for executive functioning. This means that it controls things like attention, focus, planning, predicting future consequences, impulse control, short-term memory, personality expression, and cognitive flexibility. Hypofrontality is associated with decreased self-regulation behaviors, increased impulsivity, poor attention, numbed personality expression, poor short-term memory, slow, inflexible thinking, and that's just the start. Sound familiar? Hypersensitivity. This is a dramatic increase in the sensitivity of the dopamine reward circuitry in our brain related to pornography. This leads to our brain becoming hyperactivated and hyper-aroused when exposed to even small triggers, and leads to an abnormally powerful urge to watch pornography when exposed to something that wouldn't trigger a non-addict. Desensitization. Over time, we become desensitized to the level of stimulation that used to provide us arousal. In other words, we now need more and more extreme content over time while simultaneously experiencing rapidly decreasing satisfaction. Craving. The porn-addicted brain actually shows signs of craving when pornography is not even present. And when you become addicted, this craving can turn into a compulsion, which is a craving that is stronger than your will to resist. Fundamentally, once these brain changes have started to take place, our brains have become physically dependent on porn in order to experience normal levels of brain chemistry. We've now arrived at a place where our normal life is no longer capable of providing us with a sufficient level of dopamine. We can no longer derive motivation or inspiration from the things that used to motivate or inspire us. And we can no longer feel a sense of happiness and joy from the relationships and activities which used to provide us with a sense of happiness and joy. Experientially, this leads to the following symptoms: fatigue, difficulty focusing, low mood, no motivation, disturbed sleep, depression, general anxiety, irritability and restlessness, pervasive sense of discontent, uncharacteristic worsening social anxiety and lack of confidence, brain fog and lack of mental clarity, sexual dysfunction, poor memory, difficulty experiencing states of joy, creativity, and deep connection, an inability to become aroused by normal, healthy sexual encounters, lack of personality and self-expression, shame and low self-esteem, become more likely to make worse, more impulsive decisions in other areas of our life. It can derail other healthy habits. It can cause scattered, slow, disorganized thinking, and causes us to have less emotional awareness and control. On a social and relational level, pornography is the leading cause of erectile dysfunction. Back in the 1940s, the rate of erectile dysfunction among men under 30 was 0%. Today, that number is over 30% and climbing. This is because pornography is numbing and warping the bonding networks inside of our brain, meaning that it becomes difficult or impossible to become aroused and connected to a real person. The reality is that you have to choose real people or porn. Your brain cannot bond with both. This is backed up by multiple studies that show that porn users have lower relationship quality, lower relationship satisfaction, experience more negative communication with their partners, feel less emotionally invested in their relationships, have more difficulty navigating relationship conflict, and are far less sexually satisfied with their partners. The science is showing us that high-quality relationships with real people and pornography are just incompatible. You have to choose which one you want. Within the porn industry, there are massive problems as well. A growing number of actors and actresses are speaking out against the abusive and exploitative nature of the business. Many female actresses are speaking out in particular against the drugs, coercion, lack of consent, and even flat-out sexual assault that occurs against them while on set, as well as the perverse system of incentives that prevents them from getting paid or from getting hired for future jobs if they ever reveal that they were sexually assaulted or otherwise abused while filming a scene. A growing number of lawsuits are also threatening the industry, including many cases where sexual assault or child sexual abuse material has been uploaded to major porn sites, only to have them ignore the pleas of the victims to remove the content for months or even years. Many of you might know, but some of you might not, that a recent case of this nature recently plagued Pornhub, which caused them to have to remove millions of videos from their databases. Remember, at large, porn is a $100 billion industry that gets more traffic on a daily basis than Amazon, Twitter, and Netflix combined. 35% of all internet searches and downloads are for pornography. In the United States alone, the annual productivity cost of businesses from people watching pornography while they're working is estimated to be a staggering $17 billion. To put that in perspective, that is 340 Falcon 9 rockets, or 32 Empire State Buildings, or 4 Large Hadron Colliders. Porn is a massive industry, and most of these websites make their money from ad revenue, which means that their singular goal is to maximize your time on site regardless of the consequences. Remember this saying, if you aren't paying, it's because you are the product. Your attention is being reaped from you by porn companies, and all of the externalities of the production and consumption of porn are being incurred by you, your brain, your relationships, and your life. It's time to reclaim your brain, your relationships, and your life from an industry that is capitalizing on harming you. In my next video, I'm gonna break down the difference between addiction and dependency and give you some practical steps to get porn out of your life for good. I'll see you there.